The University of Florida has not gone off to the best start in the NIL space, but they are making changes to improve that, including adding Ben Chase as the Director of NIL Strategy. And Ben is here today to talk on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Joining me now for Locked On Gators is Ben Chase, who, if you're a Florida Gators fan, you've seen him multiple times. If you're not a Florida Gators fan, you've seen him multiple times. He was everywhere, but we'll get to that a little bit down the road. But I am going to rip the Band-Aid off now because I told my listeners that you were going to be here. And if you had any questions, send them in. And I think everybody knows what the most asked question was. And I'm 99% certain that you can't answer it, whether, again, like I said, because you haven't started yet or because you can't talk about it. But I would be remiss to not ask what happened with Jaden Rashada, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I legitimately have not a part of, I just started. I haven't even started yet. I started on Monday. And, I announced my trip on the day of the national championship. And then 24 hours later is when my phone was blowing up, not congratulating me about the trip, but asking what you're just asking. But I legitimately don't know. So I'm sure people like you and the media will find out scoops and tell the story in the future. But unless they sign some kind of NDA, I'm just like you guys. I legitimately don't know.
Yeah, and that's what was expected. But again, that was the main thing that people were like, ask him about this. So I had to. But leaving Fantasyland questions behind.
Yeah.
You are going to be the Director of NIL Strategy for Florida. Mm-hmm. What exactly will that entail? Like, what will your responsibilities be there?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, so we already have Marcus, who's, he has his position with the football team, and he's done player engagement and NIL. So I'll be coming in and helping build out the rest of the program for all of our student athletes, and then teaming along with Marcus for football wherever he needs me. I'll be our goal is to maximize NIL for all student athletes at the University of Florida through education, through branding, through having people come in, whether it's an influencer, a former Gator, for example, having Clifford come in and doing a talk about how he built his brand and leaning on him and other former Gator grads, getting out in the community with, alumni and our current administration and students and just building it out because still the people that are listening to your podcast are already tapped into NIL. They already know what it is. But honestly, as someone who just traveled to all 48 lower states and talked about college football and people still don't understand it. It's kind of like the scarlet letter, right? So just because our fan base, the ones that listen to a Gators podcast, are tapped in, that's an assumption that all of us are tapped in, and it's not true. So hopefully getting out there and kind of breaking down the mold of the negative around NIL and showing that it is a positive and there's a lot of opportunities to build something special at University of Florida.
Does that irritate you, by the way, that there's that everybody's like NIL is going to be the death of college football or college sports, and that there's so much negative attention around NIL when it seems like most things, the bad parts come from, bad faith actors is what I like to call them. The people who will try to exploit players and then will try to kind of pay for play it.
Yeah. And I mean, if you go back and you don't have to, but when NIL started, I tweeted that there's going to be a time that's very similar to when these management companies for young YouTubers happened, and they just took advantage and these kids signed away their whole YouTube channel, right? And my goal is to prevent that from happening on student athlete side. We don't want to sign off your whole NIL, your whole likeness, right? You don't want to be John Cena where everything you do for the rest of your career, you have to give a kickback to the WWE, right? That's how his contract works, and he's grateful for it. He says it in public, but there are going to be people out there, like you said, bad actors. But for me, it's something. It doesn't frustrate me or anything like that. It just because this year, viewership for college football was at an all-time high. And I don't know if that's post COVID or post socio-political things or whatever. But it's one of those things where people are starving for the sport, and this is a way to bring, like, the rising tide lifts all ships, right? So like this is an opportunity for excellence across the board. We had TCU, who's never been in the anywhere sniffing a championship, in the conference, in the championship this year, and it had nothing to do with NIL, right? So for those who are on the fence, or they have a negative or view or scarlet letter, or scarlet letters, NIL, I just hope that they can have an open mind and look forward to positive things about it. It's influencer marketing, and then we have like the collective space, which is a whole nother bag. But the main thing, that the goal was, I don't know if you remember, destroying the UCF kicker. He was doing YouTube videos in 2012, 2013, and they were like, well, you can't monetize your channel, so you can either monetize your channel or you can be a kicker. I think he was a backup kicker too. He wasn't even like the main starting kicker, and that was kind of where this took heat. Like it kind of rolled up, like, because it was like, wait, I'm a kicker doing videos on YouTube and I can't make money, but my roommate, this is just a hypo, is a freshman who's not a kicker, who's making YouTube videos about cooking, and she's blowing up, or he or she's blowing up. How is that fair? And that's kind of where the beginning of this is. And I hope people see that at the end of it, the heart of NIL at the very beginning is for these students to, just like anyone else, make a few bucks and, do a few TikTok videos and have a sponsor.
Yeah, you mentioned where when young YouTubers got taken advantage of by these management companies. If I'm not mistaken, there was a streaming app when NIL first kicked in that signed a bunch of college athletes, and of course, kids excited to make some money didn't really read the fine print, didn't get it checked out, and I believe in it was like, in the contract was that the service can like use the player's NIL for whatever purpose that they want to. Like they could use your face, your picture for whatever they want. And that's one of the things where it's like kids kind of get taken advantage of a little bit.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate.
No, and that's one of those things where, we have to just, give these kids, these young, adults, the best opportunity to protect themselves while also, making money, right? Like, so, and hopefully we can kind of, partner together with, the different schools on campus to bring out education, not for just the student athletes, but for those all interested in NIL, because, there's a lot of students on campus that have reached out to me and say, hey, like, how can I be involved? How can I, add value to our Florida? And that's important too. Like, this is going to take, it's just not me. It's not Marcus. It's not Scott. It's not, Billy. It's everyone in the community coming together and saying, all right, what can we do to build something special around NIL and around the University of Florida?
Yeah. I mean, it takes a village, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that's kind of gone around for Florida specific NIL wise is, of course, there's the Gator Collective, which we all know. I love. I don't know if everybody loves it. I love them. But there's the Gator Collective, and one of the, I'll say, rumors has been that they've kind of, we'll say, had their hands tied behind their back in terms of working with the administration there. If that's true, because we'll go hypothetically here, if that's true, is that something that would kind of maybe not like be your responsibility, but be something that could maybe get untied, we'll say?
Yeah. So it's, NIL right now, every state has its own legislation. So some states like Ohio and Tennessee and Idaho and Louisiana, they let their administrations work directly to facilitate opportunities. Florida is not one of those states, right? So, Gator Collective is, a sponsor of the university, as well as everyone else on GatorsNIL.com. Those are, companies that, our administration has vested and believe that they do provide opportunities for student athletes, right? So going forward, I can't say like, yeah, I'm going to be, best friends with everyone at Gator Collective, but, I hope to, with the team we have in place, like, build something around, everything and every opportunity that we have. And if Gator Collective is one of those, obviously we want to, I was a subscriber to Gator Collective until I got this job, because I can't do it as a, a member or as a, on staff, because that's kind of shady, right? So I have to call them and be like, hey, can you take my name down from the website, please? I'm like, what? But yeah, so, I mean, going forward, I'm sure that there will be some communications, but besides that, like, I don't think it's going to be anything that's, we're going to be dancing together, in the middle of the swamp.
Hey, don't rule that out. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by BetOnline, and I don't know about you, but I have made a good amount of money this week. By the way, Tuesday night, awesome parlay. Ben Simmons, 16.5 rebounds, assists. Yusuf Nurkic, 9.5 rebounds it was, and Gary Trent, 17.5 points, and all of them cashed handedly. It was beautiful, and yeah, beautiful. It was plus 562 odds, which means if you would have bet, $100, then you walk away with a $562 profit, $650 return. It's awesome. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn all about the trends and action. Check out BetOnline. It's where the game starts. Now, one of the things that I've learned from our few conversations, and I don't think many Gators fans know about your resume, for lack of a better term here. We'll say resume, your portfolio, whatever you want to call it.
I know.
Is that you helped put together, you helped set up Friends of Rocky to an extent, the Toledo Collective, the Toledo equivalent, and then as people can see, a Toledo helmet, Toledo tattoo, big Toledo guy here. So you kind of helped put that together. How exactly did you do that for Toledo and any other schools? Like, how were you helping prior to this?
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a fair question. I saw that on message boards and on Twitter, like people subtweeting me. And that's fair because people don't know who I am, right? So they just think, oh, this guy's been living in his van and has, silly videos. That's fine. So, yeah, I mean, my background is I'm a barred attorney in the state of Florida. And I got my last job in NIL, November of 2021. So pretty early in the new era, the now it's legal era. And so my company originally wanted to be a marketplace app, kind of like a market price, match point, influencer, whatever. And you go on there and you're a business, you swipe right, just like Tinder, and you offer a deal to a student athlete. But our tech wasn't great. So I helped build one of the first NIL collective management and launch companies in the country. And it's I think right now they have 17 collectives under them. And when I was there, we had 7. Right when I was leaving, we were launching Penn State. So I helped build Gonzaga, UNLV, Nevada, Arizona football, and oversee their general manager. So Gator Collective has a leader or general manager. I was above that person and on a national scale leading Friends of Rocky with John Hoover and whoever they have there right now. So that was my role. I'd also help create pitches. I was in meetings with an admin, alumni, coaches, from all over the country. I probably made a pitch deck for almost every Power 5 school in the country. And I was on Zooms, with millionaires and billionaires at these big schools, talking to them about not Gator Collective, but the way we run our programs and why it's one of the best options for them. Because a lot of these things, it's these people that have high earning wealth, they don't have time to run something else, right? So we come in, we say, hey, this is what we're doing. We'll take a small percentage, and for just management and to have someone on staff, and then it's basically turnkey, right? We have a website, we have financial, we have accountants, we have attorneys, yada yada yada. So that was basically what I was doing with them. I helped broker NIL deals for top 5 NBA picks, draft picks. I have starters on Power 5 basketball programs that are ranked right now. Pretty easy to know where that is because I just mentioned one of them. I helped get 2 brothers at a different school that wasn't one of our collectives a weekly segment on a podcast that was sponsored, so they got paid every week to go on the podcast and just talk about basketball. So little things like that. And then while I was on my trip, I actually, I would do free consulting for these because I was in rooms with presidents, ADs, on this trip, not because of who I was in my past life, but because my trip kind of got this crazy storytelling. And one day I'm in the room with the president of Central Michigan, and the next day I'm in a box with the AD at App State, right? So these schools and the people around them, I would just talk about NIL and have follow-up phone calls like while I'm driving, like, yeah, this is what I would do, or like whatever. So it's kind of, I've still been tapped in. And, you know, when I lived in San Diego, I lived a block and a half from the person who founded NIL Network, which is a website and resource. And we would have like happy hour lunches all the time, just hanging out, talking about NIL. You know, over the summer, I met Derek Wingo and Amari Burney not Amari Burney. It's going to bother me. Maybe it was. Sorry. I think it was, at NIL Network. And I got to hang out with them and just talk about NIL. So I've been in the space for, you know, over a year now. And I actually applied for this position before my road trip. So it wasn't like, you know, it just came out of the window like, oh, let's call this kid who's like living out of his van. This is an industry I've been tapped into for a while. And, you know, I feel like personally I check a few boxes that matter. And then obviously being a Gators, you know, they don't have to indoctrinate me or, you know, give me a talking list on, you know, 96, 06, 08, like stuff like that. So that's probably like a learning curve thing I don't got to worry about. And I can focus on just diving right in.
Yeah. And I know that you kind of touched on this, but how exactly was it that you got started in NIL in the sense of like, was this something where when NIL was getting introduced, you were like, hey, I want to be a part of this? Was it something that you kind of just fell into and just ran with it and it was great for you?
Yeah. So it kind of actually started in 2020. So NIL became legal in 2021, but in February 2020, I was flown out to LA to interview with a YouTuber. He has 9 million subscribers, and I was kind of going to be like one of his ops, like his chief of staff kind of guy. So that was real, you know, NIL, like managing a huge YouTuber's, you know, team. Like he has, you know, renting out a $5 million house in the Beverly Hills for content. And that was February 2020, flown out to LA. And I was like, okay, like this could be a thing, you know. I'm an attorney at the time. Like I have that experience, but I also am in the creative space, you know, and I got the interview because I graduated law school with the YouTuber's sister, and she was like, this guy knows what he's doing kind of thing. And so they flew me out there, and I was a home run, just meet and greet. So that was February 2020. March 2020, the world was like, nah, Ben, you can't do that. No, you're not going to be able to do it. Sorry. Because I was supposed to actually fly out in August to move to LA. And so August 2020, I was like, like, you know, in my head, I was checked out of being an attorney. I was like, all right, I'm going to figure it out. You know, we fast forward to 2021. Now, college athletes can do NIL too now. Like, like this is cool. So, you know, I kind of dabbled in it and was reading and everything about it. I think I even tweeted one time in July of 2021. I was like, why am I not an NIL attorney right now or something like that? And so I saw in October 5th of 2021, this company went public. They announced they're doing a deal with UNLV basketball, $500 a month for every basketball player. And I was like, oh, this is something. So I actually cold DM'd and emailed the company. I was like, hey, like I'd love to talk about NIL. And they were like, sure. So they were like, can you send me some of your thoughts? So I sent them like 3 paragraphs. And then we hopped on a Zoom call. 17 minutes into it, they were like, can we meet in person? But can you send me more NIL stuff? So I sent them like 5 pages of NIL and my thoughts on like where they should go. And those 5 pages basically turned their company around. So that's how I got into the space.
That is awesome to hear because, again, most people probably recognize you or your name from the awesome road trip you did. So it's awesome to kind of hear how everything got started. It's the new year, so that means the New Year's resolution time. And like most people, they like to set their goal around getting fit, getting healthy, being active, getting in shape, whatever you want to say. Point being, they want to improve their physical health. And a lot of that comes from your diet. Great way to do that, Built Bar. And trust me, if you have a sweet tooth like me over here, Built Bar is fantastic because it's coated in 100% chocolate, so it's got that sweet kick to it. If you're a calorie counter, just 130 calories for a bar. If you care about net carbs like me, then that's just 4 net carbs. And if you care about protein, then 17 grams of protein. You can go to built or builtbar.com. And now they are finally in stores, so you can go to built or builtbar.com. You can also go to your local Walmart or Sam's Club and get yourself Built Bar. But talking about the road trip, I would like to ask you, because regardless of whether or not Guinness recognizes your record. We do. And that's, at least to me, that's what matters.
I appreciate it.
But what was just your road trip like? Because it was months living out of Betty. So
Yeah.
months living out of Betty. Occasionally, Betty wouldn't be able to go, so you'd have to.
Yeah, actually, on my way to Toledo, actually.
Yeah, that, which, by the way, that one I was gonna ask about it later, but like that was one of the most difficult trips I think you had to take during that time. Not that I was there with you, but I'm assuming just because Betty couldn't, car broke down. It was a while where you were tweeting where you were like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it. Does it still count if I make it there in the second half? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
What is it like knowing that you went through all of that just for it to end with my heart being broken?
Yeah. No, I mean, for those who don't know, we just assume that. But so on this trip, I drove a 2017 Dodge Grand Caravan, a white one named Betty White. My phone is actually attached to it right now. This is a pretty cool setup, honestly. I'm mad I started doing it the last week of the championship, but I wish I could have done it earlier. But yeah, so I decided, I'm someone who likes to make things hard on myself. So I was like, I'm not gonna get a fancy rig or anything like that. I just put a bed in the back and put the stone go seating down and drove all over our country. And I'm someone who loves road trips, so it's funny for me. I'd rather drive 3 hours than 30 minutes. I'd rather drive, I just don't like driving short distances. But if it's like, let's hit the road and go from, Gainesville to Baton Rouge or, Orlando to College Station, I'm all in on that. But yeah, the drive actually, the funny thing is, so I was actually going from Gainesville to Toledo. So I was at a Monday night basketball game in Gainesville, which we lost. It was our first loss of the season. And overnight to Toledo. And Betty was kind of feeling weird that night. Like, I was like, I know it's something with a transmission. There's something weird going on. And I even had an interview in Gainesville saying, like, I don't know if I'm going to make it tomorrow to Toledo, like before. And I get on the road and I get just north of Atlanta. Thank goodness it was north of not like the main part of Atlanta. And she was like, yeah, I'm done. And the fluid transmission, I safely get over, thank goodness. And I'm, it's raining. So I'm like sitting here. It's about 6 a.m. and which is a good thing because that means I could get towed basically immediately to a place that was open and just get the ball rolling on that. I just knew that something was wrong. So I just said, hey, like, I'm going to go. Like, just call me. So I got an Uber to a rent-a-car place. Actually, no. A mechanic was like, hey, we'll just drive you to the rent-a-car place. So that was kind of nice of them. Drove me to the rent-a-car place, and I got in one and drove up to Toledo, got there at halftime, and that game was a shootout in the snow, and Bowling Green got the win on a crazy third down. Like, they converted like 2 third and longs on that last drive. And the last one, it was like he broke that tackle over the middle and went right in. It's crazy that I can remember these small moments on this long road trip, but that one is definitely an all-timer.
Yeah, it definitely sucked on my end. I can say.
Yeah.
I haven't forgotten that one. I was so happy watching that game, and like, I remember I was standing up and I was like, oh my God, beating BG again. And then they didn't. And
yeah, I think you guys were up with like 24 seconds left too. And I remember I did a video pan from like the scoreboard because I was standing in the little student section by the band, and I like did this, and the snow was coming down, and he broke like 1 or 2 tackles and walked right in. That was crazy, man. I'm sorry, but it's painful, but you're gonna remember that. You're gonna remember that when Toledo wins the MAC, because you'll be like, this is the things we had to go through. I mean, when I graduated UF, we went 4-8, and Florida State won the championship. So that's like right here for me. So I get it.
Yeah, it definitely stung. And I also like that you were in the student section because that's right next to the band, because that's literally right. I used to go front row as far right as possible, right next to the band. That was always where I'd be for every home game when I was there. Got to see
on the road. If I didn't know anyone, I would usually like stand around half the middle, the like 50-yard line, and then I'd like to like just hang out where the band is and like there's just so much energy there, especially when it's like 20 degrees out. You can kind of like get some natural energy. But yeah, I mean, we've all had those moments. I was in this in Jacksonville when Jordan Reed fumbled it into the end zone, and that's like that moment to me is probably one of the most brutal moments as a student and alumni of UF. So. But it'll just make winning the next one even sweeter because we'll be able to, go through all these things together and hopefully beat Georgia here soon.
Hopefully, not optimistic, but hopefully about it. But throughout that whole trip, I would like to know what was the best game and best crowd that you got to experience that entire time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of best games. I mean, the Toledo Bowling Green State, like that's up there. I would say TCU at Baylor, the walk-off was up there, and the Mayday field goal. And then honestly, the FSU LSU game week 1, the blocked extra point to win the game with no time left. Like, I don't think that'll ever happen in my lifetime again. Like the fact that I was there, LSU was down 28 or whatever. It was a 24-20, I don't know. And they came back. And they scored with no time left after that crazy review. And they're like, all right, we're going to go to overtime here. And someone behind me goes, we're going to block this. And I was on the Florida State side. I got a free ticket. Shout out to Big 3 Roll Up if I'm allowed to shout out them. Yeah, they block it. And it was one of those moments where if that was in an actual state, if it was in Baton Rouge or in Tallahassee, it would have been a million times more electric. Because of like how quiet it would have become or how loud. But I was on the floor and there was probably 40,000 FSU fans on that side, like all together. It was, I mean, it's at in New Orleans, and it exploded. And it I just got chills. I was like, man, I can't believe I wasn't happy for Florida State, but I was just like, I can't believe I'm enjoying this moment with Florida State fans. So that's up there. And then honestly, there was a game. Ball State at Miami, and they announced before the game the winner is going to go to the Bahamas Bowl. So they knew that before the game. And Miami was down 17-6 with about 5-6 minutes left. And this young little 10-year-old girl comes out and stands next to me. I'm in this level with the coaches' wives and coordinators' wives and their kids. And because I just got invited by somebody. And this 10-year-old stands right next to me, and she has this soy sauce. And I was like, what's this? She goes, I just found the soy sauce and I'm just going to rub it for good luck. I was like, all right. I was like, I'm here for it. So I think the next, 2 plays later, I think we got an interception, and I go, what is going on? And they score. When I say we, I mean Miami, because every home game I was the home team. They score, they go for 2, they don't get it. So it's 12-17. I was like, well, we still got a chance here. They get the stop, again, score, go for 2, don't get it. But 18-17, and they get I think they seal the game with a pick. And I got to go into the locker room and see them get invited to the Bahamas Bowl. So that's probably one of the all-time ones for sure, too.
Yeah, I'd imagine that was probably one of the coolest things you could possibly see. Just seeing.
Yeah, and then the 10-year-old brought the soy sauce to the Bahamas Bowl. And I don't know if you saw how that game ended, but they lost basically the Titans-Rams, right at the end. So, I mean, the soy sauce luck ran out, but it was kind of cool that she was like, I'm bringing this to the Bahamas. She actually said she was going to bring it to the Bahamas and put it on sushi in the Bahamas, but I don't know if she did that.
Maybe she did, and maybe that's why it didn't exactly work out.
Yeah.
But could be. But thank you so much, Ben, for just taking the time to talk to me about just your new job and the road trip, and it was just awesome to actually follow this whole thing. Yeah. So thank you so much, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. And honestly, all the people that reached out to you with questions or have concerns or just want to know more about me, I'm not hard to find, as Deion Sanders will say. Come. My DMs are always open. I try to respond to everyone as quickly as possible. If it's something that I need time to think about, or I need to call you, I'll call you. But listen, I know everyone's going to this position and just being a part of Florida administration. It's hard for a reason. The goal isn't greatness. It's the expectation, right? So we expect to be great. But yeah, the goal, the goal isn't to be great. That's the expectation. So with our fans, we want, I'm a fan, so I get it. Like, so I hope that you guys know that I start on the Monday, the 23rd, and my running joke when I was on the trip was we sleep in February, but I don't plan to sleep much. I want to get us where we need to be. And it's not just me, it's everyone, in Gainesville already and you as fans. So I'm fired up.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited for it. Thank you so much, Ben. And I apologize in advance for the first time anything negative happens and you start getting that and it's all of a sudden your fault. But
That's
you're
okay.
a Gator. You know how it goes. That's just that.
No, I mean, I'm already getting those tweets and subtweets and from Florida State fans, Miami fans. But I had those tweets before. On this road trip, I had a lot of people that just didn't know me or like, oh, this guy must be rich or whatever. Like, no, like they don't know who I am. And I hope that Gator fans, like, my DMs are like, if you have an issue with what's going on and you think it's an NIL thing, just call me up, hit me up. So and I'm ready for it mentally. Like I said, the goal isn't greatness, is the expectation. So I'm ready to get to work on Monday.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. Good luck. Best of luck. I know that you've got a lot coming up, but thanks for taking the time out before you start work to come talk to us.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks, Brandon, and go Gators always.